What's up, boys and girls? Do you guys own an LS swapped Chevy or an LS swapped anything, or do you just drive a Chev truck in general? Today we're going to talk about fuel trims and what can happen to some of these Gen 3 setups. Probably happened to a Gen 4 as well. Even had it happen to my BMW a while back. And what happens is wires get against the exhaust for your O2 sensors, or maybe you caught the exhaust on something off-roading and just tore the exhaust off, or any other circumstance. Maybe you ran over something in the road, it flew up and smashed your oxygen sensor off, like the instance I had with this car. And now all of a sudden your truck is running super funny. You tried changing sensors, your truck's still running funny, and you just can't seem to figure out. Well, I'm going to talk to you about what happened to this truck. This truck, I had some wires get against my exhaust. As you can see, my wiring's not super pretty in here. I just used an old hacked up harness and made it work. And my wires got against my headers down there and caused a melting short out situation. And when we scanned it on the live data, it was driving fuel trims way up north of 25%, north of even 50%, which is basically max capacity for your fuel system. Basically, you'd start the truck up, it would seem all right. You'd start driving along, and all of a sudden it just starts misfiring, running really poorly, doesn't want to take its throttle. And meanwhile, it's super gassy smelling and running super rich. So after I fixed the wires, the trouble still persisted. I tried switching O2 sensors, thinking maybe I might have got lucky, but I didn't. What happens when O2 sensors get wiped out, or the wires get crossed, or the wires get shorted, whatever you want to call it, it wipes out the computer. And for a quick fix and to get by, what you can do, and what I've done different times, is just unplug one sensor, and the truck will run okay just off of the other sensor that's working. And I mean, it can happen either side. Obviously, it's a V8, there's manifolds on both sides, so you can melt wires on either side of the engine, or have a misoccurrence happen that something like this takes place. So what I ended up doing to figure it out was I grabbed another computer and I unlocked it with HP tuners, and I fired the truck up and I let it run here for a while, and then I took it for a drive up the road and I watched my fuel trims, and I didn't save them on my graph, but basically as soon as it went into long term, it would creep up in the high 30s to 40s to 50s, just to the point that you couldn't even drive it, basically. And real nuisance. So easy fix is unplug your O2 sensor, but the trouble with that is then your motor is not totally running in sync. It's relying off the sensor on that side to feed fuel to the whole entire engine. So yes, it will work. It will drive without misfiring and dumping a bunch of fuel, but the only way to properly fix it and to get that O2 sensor back online when that happens is to replace the computer. And I strongly advise, if you're going to go through that and do that, to make sure the wires are replaced, tucked up away, you know, prevent what happened the first time so it don't happen the second time, sort of deal. And yeah, that's her. I've seen a lot of trucks do this, and I've even seen this happen different times. Just flat out an O2 sensor short out inside, no damage caused to the truck whatsoever, just simply a bad or cheap O2 sensor. They short out in the center, and when they short out, it wipes either your power supply. I'm guessing that's what happened in my instance, because this computer, the millivolts didn't really seem to move at all. They just hovered around 450 with this computer. As soon as I plugged that computer in, they started the millivolts started bouncing around everywhere, anywhere from 100 to 900, depending on what the throttle's doing. So in my instance, I'm going to assume where the wires got against the headers and caused a short, that it was the power supply wire hit the headers and essentially probably burn a prong off inside this ECU. I may even get adventurous and see if I can get these bolts out and see where it's fried, but either way, we figured the problem out. We know what it is, and now it's dealt with. And I was going to go through a whole putting another harness in this truck and stuff, but I really don't need to. So we're going to go with the way it is, and I got a few things in plan for this truck for the future if we can ever get it to happen. But basically the engine needs to come back out. It needs a new clutch put into it, and when I go through all that, it's getting a camshaft drove in it. So hopefully over the winter months we'll get some surplus of money and I can get these other projects underway. But for now, just basically got it geared up for winter. We got it undercoated, put some bigger tires onto it, different wheels, give her a quick slap paint job, and called her a day. But she's been a good old truck. I've got a lot of running out of it. It's super, super cheap to drive with the LS into it. Even before I replaced this ECU running off 102 sensor, the truck was super, super good on fuel, especially in comparison to that old girl. But anyway, I'm glad I finally got this issue resolved, because I mucked around quite a bit, you know, switching sensors, thinking maybe I'd get lucky and it was just the sensor, but everything I did, it just kept dumping fuel. So if you guys are still listening, I appreciate it. I tried to burn up 7 minutes to make a decent video, but hopefully this helps you out if you have this trouble. And hit that like button, and please subscribe if you're not already. And yeah, it's getting on winter time, so these trucks are probably going to get used.